Hey, fellas, I appreciate y'all for sacrificing y'all's time and doing this.
Oh yeah, thanks for having us.
Too easy, too easy.
And I appreciate y'all for having me here, you know. So we're going to get started. If you could, please state your name and your rank and your affiliation with the Army.
Okay. My name is Sergeant Morgan Morris with the South Carolina Army National Guard, recruiting and retention. Been in the National Guard for about 5 years now, and holding strong.
Okay. All right. Well, my name is Dewillis Lytle, Staff Sergeant, also South Carolina Army National Guard. Been doing it for quite a while. National Guard wise, been in 25 years. You know, got into recruiting and retention maybe 2 years ago. So it's been a challenge, been a journey, but you know, it's all beneficial. It's all beneficial.
Hey, hello everybody. My name is Jack Feemster. I am a retired Sergeant First Class, United States Army. I was a 19 kilo armor crewman, and I retired out of the Army as a tank platoon sergeant. Held several other positions, you know, throughout his career progression, moved me through instructor jobs, master gunner. I did about it all. I retired actually out of the Inspector General's office at Fort Knox in 2005. Then I continued to work for the Army, Department of Army Civilian, for another about 14 years. I finished my career as the Chief of Curriculum Development for the United States Army Recruiting College at Fort Knox.
There you go.
So
Wow.
we got a lot more in common than y'all thought we would.
Yeah.
But, you know, just of note, I'm a Rock Hill guy. I was born and raised here in Rock Hill. I graduated from Rock Hill High School in 1983. I think around June is when they graduate. That November, I reported to boot camp at Fort Knox for OSUT training as a member of the South Carolina National Guard, second of the 263rd Armored Battalion.
Okay.
That was housed. This was the headquarters for it, and I was actually assigned to Charlie Company, which was out in Clover at the time.
Oh.
I did that for about a year, and then I didn't have no work. So I decided, hey, I think I'll just go active duty and be a tanker. I walked in the recruiter's office over on Cherry Road. Said, how can I help you? I said, well, I want to join the Army, but I want to be a tanker. If I can't be a tanker, I'm not going in. He said, have a seat. The rest is history.
Yeah, you got a long resume, man. I want a resume like you one day.
Yeah, thank y'all.
Oh, yeah.
So you and I met at the gym.
We did, yeah.
Can you explain to the audience, and my brother's right here, like, you know, I had told you I wanted to get some people on to talk about their trials and tribulations, you know, how you got into the military and everything like that, and the whole gauntlet. And then you said, I am the gauntlet. Can you elaborate on that a little bit?
So, you know, what I was referring to was, you know, like I've explained, you know, I started here at 17 years old is when I actually joined the National Guard. My mom and dad had to sign.
Hold on, I'm not trying to be disrespectful.
Okay.
I want you to take that mic out of that stand and hand me the stand because I want the people to be able to hear you.
Okay.
And hold a little
How
closer
about
to it. There we go. Thank
Okay.
you.
So, like I was saying, I joined when I was 17 years old. I retired from the Army when I was probably about 39 and a half. I did 21 years, you know.
Great age.
Right. And so I hung around post-Army career at Fort Knox, chasing money, trying to get in the civil service system, which I was successful in doing. But that's, you know, besides the gauntlet we all run as service members, it really starts when you get out, making sure that understanding not only where you've been, but where you need to still go physically, emotionally, mentally. You know, it's struggle for all of us at times. Some people adapt better than others. For me, I was fortunate, and when I retired at Fort Knox, I became part of the VA system in Kentucky. And I really had a pretty good experience in Kentucky. I stayed there another 20 years until I retired from the civil service. And I really only had good experience with the VA. And, you know, I stayed close to the military. You know, I retired from the Army and went right back to work on the same Army installation that I retired from. And Fort Knox, you know, was the mothership for tankers. I mean, so I had been back and forth there my whole career. Fast forward to 22. In 2022, I retired from the civil service, and I told my wife, I said, "Hey, I'm retiring. We can pretty much go live wherever you want to. We can stay here, or we can go wherever you want." And she didn't even hesitate. She said, I want to go home to Rock Hill so I can be with my mom and dad. I'm like, all right.
Great. That's great.
It was her turn, you know what I'm saying? So here we are. And, you know, I've always stayed in shape. I go to the gym. But as you get older, the beating that your body takes doing 20 years plus years in the military, it don't matter if you was a tanker, an engineer, you know, a sapper, and I know those are different things, really, you know, and you know, it takes a toll, and sometimes you don't realize it till you get a little bit deeper into your life, and so I get down here, and I'm trying to get in with the VA system here in South Carolina. It's terrible. In my opinion, it's terrible. I had terrible experience with the clinic here in Rock Hill. Not being able to be seen in a timely manner. The community care program that they have is completely broken from Columbia all the way trickling down. I did mention that I retired as an IG. And then when I retired, I worked at high levels for the recruiting command. So I'm very used to dealing with people and talking with people at high levels. So I started like a mini crusade here, and I'm like, you know, why is it so different from state to state? And I just couldn't understand why, you know, I would have such a good experience in Kentucky and then come to South Carolina, my home state, and have such a bad experience. And, you know, I talked to people in Columbia. I've been in working groups like this. With the VA down there, and they still just can't seem to get it together. Ralph Norman, a representative, I've been in his office to the point that they didn't even like to see me coming through the doors anymore because they knew what it was going to be about. Right. You know, and I don't know. I don't know what that fix is, but, you know, when I say the gauntlet, let me back up. So a friend of mine that I went to high school with and I've kind of reconnected with, he was in the Marine Corps. And, you know, them Marines, man, if they've been in the Marines, you're going to know it. And he only spent 4 years. You'd think he was in there for 40. But he kept telling me, I would be talking to him about, you know, my struggles with the VA. And he's like, man, you need to go to Charlotte. I'm like, what are you talking about? He's like, the South Charlotte VA, they got a great clinic up there. I said, no, you know, I'm South Carolina. I want to stick with my stuff. Plus, I just didn't like the idea of driving to Charlotte. Right. So, finally, it took a dental issue. I had a tooth get messed up. And I can take pain, but I can't take a toothache.
Exactly. That's like most. That's another type of pain.
Right. So, you know, I'm calling the South Carolina VA. I'm trying to figure out to get somebody to tell me what is the procedure for seeing the dental, to get emergency dental care. And I couldn't even get anybody to even tell me what it was.
Yeah, that's a lot.
You see what I'm saying?
That's
something as simple as that. You know, nobody could give me a direct answer. So I got frustrated, and I called the Charlotte VA. They're like, yeah, we got a dental clinic. You can come up here 7 days a week, 24 hours a day on dental. And we got dental sick call every day. I'm like, okay. So within 15 minutes, they had switched me over from South Carolina to North Carolina VA. Had already had me a primary care provider, and an appointment set up with that guy, and had all my other appointments set up within an hour. And I've had nothing but great experiences with the VA in Charlotte. That's North Carolina. So, you know, that's something I'm still trying to figure out and work around is why it's so different. It's the same. I mean, I always figured, you know, the VA is the VA. That's a federal agency. You see, they have a secretary of the VA.
It should be a level playing field for everybody, regardless of what state you're in. As long as you're in the United States.
And I had heard, you know, we've all heard the horror stories about the VA, this, and I had never experienced it up in Kentucky. it's a large veteran community up there because you got Fort Knox and you got Fort Campbell. So it's a very large veteran community. But South Carolina has a large veteran community, just not around Rock Hill.
Mm-hmm.
It's all down around Columbia and Charleston, and I think up in Greenville area. But so when I say I've run the gauntlet, you know, I've started out as a 17-year-old kid. Here I am, just turned 60. So I've experienced peacetime Army, wartime Army, the good, the bad, the ugly. I've been dealing with life as a veteran, a retiree for 20 years. I've been I've been retired as long as I was in almost. So,
That's great.
I have some life experience to share. I have a passion for veterans, and when you ask me to do this, that's why I'm like, I'll be glad to, come in, step in, do whatever you want me to do.
That means everything to me and more, brother.
Yeah, no
I
problem,
appreciate
my
that,
friend.
man. I
Yeah.
appreciate that.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna kind of stay on track. Y'all want to add something to that?
No, but from veteran to veteran, as we always say, thank you for your service.
It's my pleasure.
As you say, you went through the gauntlet, and I've seen, you've been through a lot as well. I'm not as tenured, as you are. 19 kilo myself as well, which I have that, so that's something we have in common. I started out 11 Bravo, went to 19 kilo, and everything. And as you say, it's different experiences all throughout where you go. As you mentioned, when it comes to the VA, you would think everything would be the same on the same playing field, but in reality, we always have to remember that we can have the same picture, all the time, but it's like, hey, it's a different artist to it. The makeup is different, so it's confusing and it's aggravating when it shouldn't be. Just when it comes to dealing with the VA, that's a thing within itself. So I get it, I understand that. I'm going through some stuff with them as well. So when you were saying that, I was like, I know exactly what you mean. But yeah, man, just thank you, for sharing, and I'm pretty sure we're going to learn a lot more from you with your experiences and everything that's going to come with this. That's pretty much all I have for right now.
Thank you.
Well, as Staff Sergeant Lytle said, thank you for your service.
Yes, sir.
I'm not as seasoned as y'all,
Keep living. You'll get there.
I know eventually I'm going to have my own war story about the VA, but right now, like I said, I've only been in for 5 years, so I haven't got there yet. But hopefully, in my 15 years from now, when I do start working with the VA, maybe they work on that situation a little bit more, and I'll have to deal with what y'all have to deal with.
Well, see, hopefully this conversation will prevent you from having any negative dealings with them.
Right.
That's why this conversation is important, gentlemen. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
This is where it starts at. I'm beyond grateful, like I said before, for all of y'all being here. I'm gonna ask y'all a question. Is leadership supposed to be comfortable?
Me personally, leadership should be comfortable. Reason I say that is because you all start from somewhere. Everybody pretty much, if you're in the military, majority of most people have the same starting point. So as you go up, you see different things with, as they say, with rank comes certain responsibilities. So these responsibilities as you move up. So things the lower enlisted may encompass or may come into, they have probably already endured that or been through that themselves. So they should be relatable to a lot of things that happens at the top and at the bottom. So yes, leadership should be comfortable, but once again, it's the individual itself. It's how they react to people, how they treat people, how they do things. But overall, leadership should be comfortable in my eyes, and that's just my opinion with that.
Yeah, because that's fair. Everybody's getting it from the mud.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody going through that same struggle.
Mm-hmm.
I agree 100% with them. Of course, Army is Army, so you never want to get 100% comfortable. You want to keep at least 2% not comfortable because you just never know what might change. But for the most part, I feel like, in my opinion, a good leader should be comfortable.
I concur with what the gentleman is saying over there. So I would just add, there is an old saying that says, good leaders are born, they're not made. And I found through my time that that's true. Now, I will tell you, the Army does provide a level playing field where we all basically start the same.
Mm-hmm.
I think all the branches of the military are like that. and we all start out together.
Yeah.
Not all of us are going to be a first sergeant. Not all of us are going to be
Correct.
a sergeant major, but we can all be good and effective leaders. You know, it's a difference between being a good leader and an effective leader. When you can be both, that's when I noticed, that's when you start having your troops kind of gravitate to you
Yes.
as opposed to away from you. You know what I'm saying? They come to you. They can't, they got to respect you and, you know, not necessarily fear, but they should respect you, but at the same time be comfortable to come to you if they have issues, questions. They can't, you know, you want to maintain that type of relationship with your subordinates that they are comfortable to come to you with issues and problems and just ask simple questions. You know what I'm saying? Right. So, but I do feel like the military, the Army, I can really speak for. You know, the NCO Corps and the NCO education system over the years has been refined to, you know, it really does a good job building and developing young leaders. Whether they continue on and become senior leaders, it's an individual thing. We're not all going to be able to do that.
Right.
Yeah.
Do hard leaders create stronger people?
I'm sorry?
Do hard leaders create strong people?
I think that's an individual basis too.
Yeah.
Because some strong leaders, it depends on the person. Because some people might crumble under a little bit of pressure.
Exactly.
Some people flourish under pressure. You know, for example, me, I flourished. I came from a great background. I told me and you had a little bit of conversation about, you know, my past. I was 30 when I joined the National Guard, right? So I was a little bit older, a little bit more seasoned. And a lot of my higher ups, they gave me a lot more, what's the word I'm looking for? They focused on me a lot more. One, because I was older, and two, because I don't know, I guess they seen something in myself that I didn't see. And with that, in that small amount of time of them putting pressure on me, I got promoted to E5, you know, and in a time frame where most people don't. And with me being in for 5 years now, I'm already eligible for my promotion to E6. So I feel like without, and his name was Sergeant First Class Scheider. Without him being on my butt like he was, I probably wouldn't be where I'm at right now, you know? So
I think y'all will probably agree with this. It's important for a leader to be able to respect the fact that every young man or woman has a different personality. Not everybody's the same.
Right. I kind of, I don't know.
No, you good, brother.
I kind of use that in my my day-to-day NCO roles, you know, because like I just said, you know, some people do really good under pressure. Some people, you know, you might have to coddle a little bit and motivate them a little bit more than you have to do the next person. I've learned in my civilian side of work and in my military side of work, everybody has a different way of approaching them. You just got to figure it out. The better of a leader you are, the more you know your soldiers. You know what I mean? So you know how to approach each soldier differently.
Yeah. And I'll say with that as well, it's just some people, I'll say, as you would say, hard leaders, they're going to be hard on you because it's like anything you do. You see your potential at one level. They see your potential at another level. So you may have been one that, say you're the top dog or whatever it may be in everything that you do. You've never had nobody to really challenge you. So you're going to have that one leader or somebody along the way, they're going to sit and watch, they're going to observe. They'll be like, oh, not to say they're trying to humble you, but they're going to bring out more in you as well by being that hard leader. Because now you need somebody to push you. You've never had that. So when they get down on you, sometimes it's uncomfortable. You like, I'm uncomfortable. I've never been in this space. I've never been in this place before. But some people actually need that, as he said, to push them to be a better leader themselves. Yeah. And it's one thing about it, like you say, some people are natural born leaders. It's a true thing. A lot of people will gravitate towards you just because, and you don't have to do nothing. Some people, you need to be, as you say, coddled a little bit. I need to mold you a little bit. I need to push you a little bit. So it's a fine line in between that and everything. But once again, we have to look at that individual leader themselves. They have to know it's a line, it's a boundary. Am I overstepping or am I not doing enough? Yeah, right. And you know, some leaders have it and they can see that within other people and they know how to balance that as well. You know?
And if I could just jump in real quick, I see things ain't changed none, so that makes me happy.
Yeah.
It does. And when you say, when you mention hard, being a hard leader, you know, in the Army, the word hard gets thrown around a lot.
And it's misconstrued, I
Yeah,
think.
and for me, you know, as I came up through the ranks and started developing my leadership style, I was fortunate enough to be, you know, I'm 85 in Germany, in Republic of Germany, you know, a year before the wall came down. So it was a real mission over there. So I was very fortunate to have back in the day, what we called strat NCOs. These were guys that come to work, spit shined every day, and looked like, you know, we might look like trash when we went home at the end of the day from working in a motor pool. But when we showed up the next day, guess what? We knew we were expected to have shined boots, press uniform, you know, haircut right, just the basic stuff. But when you say hard, I kind of developed myself and I considered myself hard, but fair.
There you go.
And I would tell anytime I got new soldiers in and going through the initial counseling phase and in processing with them, and I'd sit them down and talk to them, whether I was going, even before I was a platoon sergeant, when I was just a tank commander. I'm like, look, dude, I got the best tank in this battalion, and it's hard to keep it that way. And that's how I'm going to do things. It's going to be hard, but I'm going to be fair with you, and I'm going to have your back, and you're going to have my back. We're going to part ways in unfriendly terms. And, you know, when you're up front with a young man like that, they appreciate it. You know, you lay it out in front of them and tell them, this is where we are, this is where we're going, and this is what you're going to have to do to keep it going with us. I think they respect that, and they gotta know you got their back. And then you can be hard on them. They want you to be hard on them. A lot of kids, that's what they sign up for.
Yeah.
So before y'all joined the military, did you have direction in life?
I can start with that one.
Like purpose, you know what I mean?
So I thought I did. I guess you can say, you know, when you're young and just trying to figure out life, you might have a direction, but it never really works out the way you wanted it. Me, I grew up in a little bit more fast paced. I wasn't in South Carolina. I grew up in the D.C., Maryland area. It was a lot more hustle and bustle for me. I had a great mom. My mom retired from the Army. She was struggling getting her VA benefits, you know, activated while trying to figure out how to be a mom, you know, and raise her kids. So we didn't really have everything that we needed at the moment. So I started gravitating to, you know, older people that I shouldn't have been hanging around. And that kind of just steered me into the wrong direction. I don't know if y'all know about the Challenge Academy, the National Guard. So it's for at-risk youth. I was a high school dropout, so I was one of those at-risk youth. I had to fill out an essay and go through a interviewing process to get into the school. Finally did that. Did the ASVAB and everything. I could have enlisted right into the National Guard right after I graduated. Listened to some older people that I was hanging around to tell me don't do it, and I didn't do it. You know, maybe 12 years down the road, I made a decision to do it again, but it wasn't. I still didn't have all my ducks in a row, but I was making better decisions, if that makes sense. But once I joined, I felt like the atmosphere of having every person in my unit from different backgrounds, different jobs, different career paths, degrees, all that. It kind of opened up my eyes to what I could be doing for myself. And in a small amount of time that I've been in the National Guard, I've been very successful of taking hold of what the military gives you and using it for my family and building myself, my wealth, and my family all at the same time. So.
Beautiful. Were you still figuring things out before the military, or were you?
Well, with me, it was sort of a thing to where for one, I was pretty much always a smart kid. For the longest, I was the only kid. My mom's only child. Started out, so I really didn't have like no close siblings or anything, you know, growing up without that. Now, my dad, you know, they say dad was dad. I did have other brothers and sisters later on throughout life I connected with. But for the most part, I grew up around, you know, like my uncles and aunts, like my older relatives and everything. And so for me, I've always seen a work aspect, you know, just no matter what you do at the end of the day, work. You're going to do something. And that's one thing I always knew that's like in me. I work. I don't care what it is. I don't care if a job is not too big, a job is not too small. I work. But just growing up, myself going through some things, some hardships and all of that. From Rock Hill, myself between Rock Hill and York, here and there and everything, growing up. So a little with me coming up, through the time my mom and dad separated, during my teenage years. And so I was a mama's boy. Like I said, my mom was only child. I sort of went with her. And this where, as we can say, developed the hard coming from. I kind of went with my mom because it was a little more lenient than being with my dad. So I knew I could get away with some stuff because if I'm with dad, he ain't going to stand for that and he's going to get on me, as they say. But in actuality, it was all for direction, for purpose and everything to keep me on the straight path. Now, I will say I've never been a bad kid, never been in no trouble, always an AB student. But what I found myself to do, I dumbed myself down to try to fit in. I was that kid, and a lot of kids do that. If you're smart, you're smart. Like, don't be ashamed of that. Be yourself. I was a clown. I'm a people person. Sergeant Morris can probably tell you. I can fit in anywhere.
Can't take him anywhere.
But going back just with that, I'll tell everybody, be authentic. Be yourself. That's one thing about it. With me, my brother, he went to school at Rock Hill High, and the reason I got in the National Guard really was because of him. Like I say, things I had going through dealing with my teenage years. I just wanted to graduate high school, which was one of the main things. Kind of short story. My grandmother, she ended up getting sick when I was a senior in high school, and during that time, she passed. Realistically, no one in my initial family had graduated high school. I was the first graduate in my immediate family to graduate high school. That was a huge accomplishment. And I made that promise to my grandmother on her dying bed. Hey, I'm going to finish school. This is my thing. Once I done that, I was like, you know what? I fulfilled what I promised her. I'm just going to go to work. Because at the end of the day, that's all I seen. Dad work, mom work, uncles work. But I knew it was always something more I wanted to do. I didn't know what I wanted to do, but my brother went to Rock Hill High, had a academic scholarship to go play football in college, and he asked me one day, he was like, bro, what are you going to do with yourself? I was like, I don't know, get a job and go to work. He was like, you're too smart for that. He was like, I see how you do. He said, I know you're clowning around and joke, but you're too smart for that. And so, like, I can honestly say he sort of kind of planted that seed as well, like, there's more for you. Go find it, whatever it is. He was like, I'm going to join the National Guard. I asked the question, well, what is that? He said, I talked to a recruiter. He said he can help me pay for school and I can get some benefits and everything. And me, I was like, well, I know I'm going to work. Well, I'll try this too, just for something else. Long story short, I've been doing it for 26 plus years, let me be correct. And so it's something that stuck with me, and I've had the opportunity to travel the world. I've been to like 9, 10 different countries, as, veteran to veteran here. I've actually been in conflict. I've been in war, 07, 08, Afghanistan. So I've seen the good and the bad and seen a lot of stuff as well. But what I can say, being resilient and somebody that's able to adapt to a lot of stuff, I think that has helped me a lot throughout my military journey and everything. And just learning from other people as well, being a sponge, soak in the knowledge, soak in what somebody gives you, you can always learn something from somebody. You're never too old to learn. And that's one thing I've learned, and I tell a lot of people, it's just life experiences.
Yeah, I want you to add to that as well, but I can tell all of y'all are very humble. Mm-hmm. There's no ego. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Willingness to learn, listen.
Always, you have to.
As many mistakes as I made in my life, ain't no room for no ego.
Your resiliency is very important.
Yes.
Like you got to have that.
Learn that in basic.
That's key.
Yeah.
Right.
Did you want to add something to that, or?
Well, I would just tell you, like I said, I was born and raised in Rock Hill.
Right.
I was born in Old York General Hospital in 1965. Grew up on the Mill Hill. Okay. One of the Mill Hills over here in Rock Hill. Mm-hmm. Mom and I'm a child of the 70s. My mom and dad was divorced like almost everybody else's back then.
Yeah.
I was fortunate that even though my parents split up, my dad stayed a positive and constant influence in my life.
Yes, I had that as well. So he was there.
I had 2 granddaddies that were in my life. I had uncles that was involved with me, and I was fortunate that I had good male role models. My main one, besides my dad being my granddad that I mentioned, just happened to be the battalion motor sergeant out here. And so from the time I was, as far back as I can remember, I was in this drill hall at Christmas time, New Year's parties. They always used to have dances and parties out here. The big time of the years when they would come back. They called it summer camp back then, not AT.
AT. Go to AT.
AT.
Yeah.
They were going. They went to Fort Stewart every year then.
Yes.
And, so when I was a kid, the big thing was the day that they were coming back. We was all the kids would be up here and they coming in. They had Gamma goats back then, quarter-ton Jeeps, and so they'd come in and all the vehicles were still on dispatch. So my granddaddy would always get in something, throw the kids in it, and take us down the road down through there and ride us around in the vehicles. I don't know if he's supposed to do that, but he did. He was battalion motor sergeant, so nobody said nothing to him.
He called the shots.
That's how I knew about the little room over here, the lounge. But yeah, I had a pretty good upbringing. Like I said, I wrestled and played sports all through high school. So I was athletic, and I think because of my exposure to coming up here and being around my granddad and seeing all the soldiers and all that stuff and the vehicles and everything, that planted a seed in me. Were really, and there used to be a M60 tank sitting out front, and that kind of planted this. I always just wanted to be a tank guy.
So it was like, for you, it was like everything was sort of aligned in a way. You just didn't see it then, but your path was pretty much already predestined, and you just walked into it.
Didn't want to go to college. Had no interest in going to college. My dad and all his family members were all construction welders and pipe fitters, and they all made good money. Yeah. But I just wanted to be on those tanks. And that's what I ended up doing. And I got to do it for 18 years out of my 21. So I'm very fortunate to be able to spend my adult life being a tanker. I didn't know nothing about the NCO Corps and leadership all the things that was going to be put in front of me coming up through there. But at the same time, I still got to go be on my tank every day. And that's what awesome. I like doing.
What what shocked y'all when y'all first entered the military?
And for me, it's how easy it was.
Okay.
You know what? That's
physically.
That's a good one. Go ahead.
PT. I mean, I got to boot camp up at Fort Knox, and it was November, so it was already cold up there. And we had guys from all over the country, and we'd take off. We ran every morning.
Yeah.
And by the time we get to the second block, we had guys falling out every day. I was a road guard. I had done discovered at that point, if you get the road guard you can go run circles around the formation.
Or you can get up and take a break and let everybody else catch up to you.
That's right. So, yeah, for me, that was the biggest thing was how physically easy it was for me personally, And I think that's just because I was hyper. ADD kid, and I've been in sports all my life. So,
and y'all both enlisted at 17. Imagine how it felt for me, turning
30.
30.
Oh yeah.
But I completely agree with you on that. I think one of my biggest things was I was worried, with me being 30, trying to keep up with 17, 18-year-olds, in basic training. But it's all about resilience. We use that word a lot in the military, right? But coming down to it, is it a lot of work? Yeah, it is. Do they wake you up early? Yeah. Do they yell at you for no reason? Yeah, they do. But at the same time, all of it is mental, It's all about your mental resilience. And once you get past it and you realize that your drill sergeants are human beings doing their job that they get paid for every day, and you just so happen to be the product that they're building, and then you start to realize and understand, like, okay, they're playing a game here, and I just need to fit my little piece, my puzzle piece into wherever it needs to go to fit, and just keep tracking on. I hear this all the time, especially in recruiting. What's basic training like, or what's this like? And you're never going to realize what it's like, because I'm going to tell you what my experience was, right? And you're going to be like, okay, well, it must be easy, but it could have just been easy for me, But everybody, going back again, everybody has a different experience. It's always an individual experience when it comes to the military. But basic training, and I want to say this loud and clear, basic training is not as hard as I thought it was going to be, right? The worst part of basic training is having other people in the barracks with you and their cleanliness. And if you can get past a couple of musty soldiers or a couple of soldiers who don't want to, shower when it's time to shower, then you'll be perfectly fine. Other than that, just keep your head down, do your job, and it goes by extremely
For
fast.
me, it was lack of sleep though. I think I was sleepy for the first 5 years I was in the military. I would already be asleep, in between. Not getting enough sleep was really what was hard for me, and not the physical.
And I think, just to piggyback off what both of y'all said, it really wasn't a shock. Like, basic training wasn't hard. Like, once you figure out, hey, this is the game they're playing. We have to play their game. And I think the biggest shock to me was everybody individually, like where you come from. We have some people come from Idaho, Wisconsin, out in the middle of nowhere, like straight, all they know is farm. They don't know nothing about nothing. You got people from the city, you got people from New York or wherever they may be. And once you got all those egos and all those different backgrounds in one room and they clash, it's like a time bomb going off. Once you actually reset that time bomb in there, and like, hey, y'all, this drill sergeant see this, they see that. Once they see you figure that out and you work together as one, because at the end of the day, that's all it's about. It's all about one. Once you get that figured out, once I figured that out and a couple of other guys were like, hey, y'all, if we do this right here, they're going to mess with us about that. But if we do it this way, they're going to kind of bag off from us. And like the drill sergeant's like, okay, I think they got it. And that's all it is. Once you figure that out, as he was saying, basic training isn't hard. It's all about cohesion. Coming together as one, putting your differences aside, and getting on one page. Once you do that, that's pretty much it. Yeah, they're going to wake you up. Yeah, you're going to run. Yeah, you're going to have to do some physical activity, but they're going to teach you a lot of life skills too. They're going to teach you that. You're going to lose sleep. But hey, some people be up all different times of night anyway, so now why you want to cry about your sleep? Now you crying about it because you have to do something you really don't want to do, but it benefits you in the end. And so that's all it is. Basic training, it really wasn't a shock. It wasn't nothing hard. It's just getting cohesion, becoming one.
My bad. If I can, I also want to add, I think being successful in the military, again, individual basis, but it all goes off of what you're willing to do. I'm a firm believer and especially in the military, it's not about what you know all the time. It's about who you know. The more you get out of your comfort bubble and you shake hands and you introduce yourself and you volunteer for things, I feel like the easier you can be successful, in my opinion. I feel like in the military in a whole, obviously you start from the bottom, work your way up to the top, right? But in order to be successful, it's kind of just laid out there for you. You show up in the right uniform, show up at the right time, do what you're told. The more you know, the more people you know, the better opportunities you have, and if more people join the military and stepped out of that little comfort bubble that they have, I feel like more people will be more successful and they'll have better success stories when it comes to people, discharging out of the military. I don't know how y'all feel about that, but that's just how I feel.
I was going to say that I think it'd be a good idea. Obviously, people probably will fight against this, but out of high school, I think everybody should go to boot camp.
Automatically? Like,
yeah.
you know what?
But what if they don't finish? I don't know how that would work, but I think they should get introduced to it and get put through it at least, man. It would help them. It's nothing but beneficial, it sounds like, for me.
I 100% agree. Mandatory, obviously, that's stepping on some, what's the word I'm looking for? Stepping on nails, I guess?
No, you're stepping on toes. You're stepping on some people's toes.
You just never know, I guess. It's a benefit, right? But the one thing that we are known for is having one of the biggest fighting forces, right? But without having people mandatory have to enlist. Oh, my bad.
It's an all volunteer army.
But see, it's a lot of people out here that aren't open-minded. They're not familiar with what you guys go through. And I feel like it would broaden their horizon and teach them some respect.
It could.
And back to resiliency.
It 100% could. But I would worry about watching my six. And maybe that's just me. But I feel like the people who sign up and say this is something I want to do, those are the people that you can trust 100%.
Yeah, I got
more
you.
than the people that are being forced to join.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Not all of those turn out by the time you see them, and by the time they finish, if they
Right.
finish boot camp, and you get them in a line unit, at that point they might not be the best options you can get,
Right.
because they have already at some point decided this is not something that I like.
Yeah, they
And then,
checked out.
Then you kind of, I hate to use the word stuck with them. We used to call it challenged with them, because you're going to be challenged to train that soldier regardless of what they want to do. You know, they're still going to do a job. It just makes it more challenging for the leadership to keep those soldiers motivated and productive.
And I think with those soldiers, when you get them like that, it's something at their core they don't want to share with you, for one. And I think that's what happens with most soldiers when you got them and you like, I would say with my experiences, you know, in my former unit, I've gotten some of the scumbag soldiers. They're not this, they're not that. And I get them and they perfectly fine. And they be like, what did you do different with them? I say, for one, I listen to them. That's the key thing. Like, when it comes to those hard leaders, they're always on them. You this, you that, you not this, you that. Have you ever stopped for a moment and taken the time to look at and ask this individual, hey, this is just my perspective. I seen you had an issue with this person and that person. What is the problem? A lot of times, they're muted. Well, they won't let me speak, Sarge, or they won't, you know, they're just on me. Listen to your people sometimes. That will solve a lot of stuff. If you just take the moment to listen. We're like, all right, I heard what you said, but also it takes accountability. You were wrong in this instance. You were wrong in this instance. Now let's fix that. Once you fix those two things, you can pretty much kind of get somebody going in a good space. But if you're not open to listen to somebody and you just always on them, you're never going to get nowhere with nobody like that. That's like us as individuals. If I got somebody always telling me I'm wrong, I need to do it this way, that way, I'm going to tune you out. Because what makes you might be the expert on that, but what makes you think you know it fully to the T? Because once again, you can always learn something. And that's just how I look at it with a lot of stuff and everything, man. You know, so it's just, you know, how you approach people and how you treat people. You have to be, as they say, you have to be willing to take and give at the same time, you know.
Right. Now, I'm not really, some may say I'm backpedaling a little bit, but I'm going to go back and circle back to what I said about the mandatory thing, right?
Right.
Because, see, I found my resiliency through jiu-jitsu at the age around 40. So I feel like maybe if they would just like increase an incentive for students coming out of high school to go to boot camp, I don't know what that would be, but maybe that would get them more motivated to go just to get that experience, you know what I mean?
So I'm not against mandatory service. I think it would do the majority of the young folks good to go, like you're talking about, to go in and experience boot camp, learn some type of skill, job skill. You know, obviously going to be a tanker or an engineer, combat engineer, it's not going to teach you a lot of skills that's directly transfer, but it's the indirect skills that you learn, dealing with people skills as
Social
a young
skills.
person.
And especially the kids that don't have any purpose. They should go.
And like you mentioned before, completely out of your comfort zone. You're going into a completely different foreign world when you roll into the military side of the house. So, yeah, I think it would be good. I just think the country wouldn't, as a whole, would not be happy with it.
Right.
I just don't think. I think it would take something catastrophic that I wouldn't want the country to have to deal with to be able for them to put us on a footing where we're going to bring all the kids into the military. Now, like you mentioned, if they could come up with some type of incentive, most of the countries, Germany, the European countries, Israel, they have compulsory service. It's 2 years. They have to go in, go do boot camp, go do their training, and then they go home. And they're like close, I think, to what we consider IRRs.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't think they're like active, like National Guard units where they drill regular. I think some of them do, but it's like they can call them up.
Okay.
Once a year, you have to at least once or twice a year they have to show up. At least get weighed and taped, maybe
okay.
physical or something. But
Okay.
you know, I just don't know, man. I don't know if the United States is ready for that right now.
Now I've never
I
served.
don't. Like I said, I'm a supporter of it. I just don't think the country as a whole would support it.
I think it's a good
Unfortunately.
idea, but it's pros and cons.
What's IRR?
Inactive ready reserve.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
So pretty much like once you're active and say you get out or you serve your term in the National Guard, say specifically for the National Guard. We all, when we first joined National Guard, you serve for 8 years. Now, active time of that is maybe 3 years, 4 years or 6 years. Once you do those years, the IRR are the number of years left on that contract. So if you do 4 active, you got 4 in the IRR. If you do 6 active, you got 2 in the IRR. And so, like you say, if any major conflict breaks out, well, hey, we need you to come back in because we got something we need to handle or take care of, or we need your assistance with something. With that. Would it be a good idea to have everybody serve or go through some type of boot camp or something? I could say yes, it would be beneficial because for those that don't have discipline or have structure, it puts you in that mold of mind frame. It sets you up to where you learn how structure and leadership goes as far as like when you get a job. Hey, I'm the floor manager. Hey, this is the lead of the shift. Hey, this is the operations manager. So now they see the different tiers of how things goes and how things flow when it comes with that. For one, some aren't mentally always fit. 2, some aren't always physically fit. I mean, and that's nothing against them. That's just what it may be. So everybody wouldn't be able to do it. No. Would it help? I would say yes. But this is just me. With the way we, the people of the United States, are, we're free. We're free to choose our own way in everything we do. True. So when it comes to, now you're telling me I'm going to do this, that's where it comes to, I don't want to do that because now
rebel.
you're making me do that.
And like you mentioned, also, I think besides the will of the people, I think the next biggest challenge of that would be the physical unfitness of the young people in this country. And
that's a whole nother rabbit hole.
It disqualifies so many kids for these guys. It makes their job so hard to try to find a kid that, has not already been in trouble with the law. It's not on all kind of medications since they was in kindergarten.
Oh, boy.
Okay? And,
Yes.
and then, can pass the ASVAB, the test to get in, the aptitude test. And then on top of it, the kid, is 30, 40 pounds overweight and never did nothing except play video games. He's not a child of the 70s like I was.
We
I didn't
outside
have
kids.
no fat on me.
Drink out the water hose.
That's right. That's right.
We drink out the water.
Babies.
Drink out the water hose,
You go outside,
get
you
your
did
hands there.
you done a whole shift outside as a kid. We didn't even know. All right, it's 10 o'clock. Don't come back in the house till
When
6
that
or 8
light- when
o'clock.
them street lights come on, you better be back in here.
That's it. Like I said, we'd have done a whole shift outside and ain't even know it. But, looking back over stuff like that, our parents programmed us for work, really. Because you just think about it. All right, you knew if I go outside at 10 o'clock in the morning, I can't come back into the house a certain time. And it was a routine every day.
That's right.
Now that I'm older, I think about like, you know what? They kind of put me in a work routine and I didn't even know it. I could go do whatever I wanted to do within that time frame. But when you look at it now, you're like, I was on a shift. This is my play shift every day. I go out at this time, I come back at this time.
Yeah.
And so it's just, different perspective on how you look at things, and everything. But yeah, we as a nation, we've changed totally, And the thing is, like, I'm 44 myself, I got kids myself, 26, 17, 11, and 9. A lot of their structure and the way things are now, it comes from us as parents that we are today because it's lost. Yeah. Like a lot of kids don't know how to work. What they do, they feel entitled. Oh, mom got it. Dad got it. Can I have this? Can I have that? No. If you come from, I would say, an old school upbringing, is your room clean? Did you do your chores? Are your grades good? Now we can talk about something you want. You just not going to get it just because it don't work like that. And then you got some of them kids that, if they say they want to crash out and have fits and tantrums and if you from those who it don't work like that, you get tightened up real quick.
Hey, bro, I was just thinking about this one. I'm just gonna share this real quick, man. Like, I was up in the woods with like some of my friends back. Like my niece was with us and up behind my grandma's house. You familiar with York?
Yeah.
Up in California Circle.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know, Francis Meeks, man, that was my grandma.
Okay.
She stayed right there on the corner right there. But bro, we came about them woods. She was like, go over there and get you a twig, get you a hickory switch off of there. We had to get our own hickory switch, bro.
There it
And we
is.
came down the hill.
Don't be playing neither.
Man.
You
Make it
you
worse.
bring a little switch back, she's gonna go back out there and grab her own switch.
And don't try to fake it. It's gonna make it worse. Be like fake crying going on.
Yeah, there we go.
I had to put that in.
Or be like, you know what,
we
you
all
last.
the
I'm gonna
same.
get you last. I'm gonna wait for you.
So what would y'all say is the difference between rank and leadership? Kind of tapped in on that a
Rank,
little bit earlier.
I would say rank to me is just something on your chest.
Yeah.
To me, that's all rank is. Leadership is what's in you. It's the qualities that you have. You know, it's something that naturally comes from you. You know, you can't really teach leadership. Now, you can give critiques of leadership, but as far as leadership itself, some people just, like I say, they naturally have it. And the thing I think biggest with leadership is you're not scared to fail. I think that's the biggest thing with a leader. I'm not scared to fail. As they say, somebody got to be the crash dummy.
Yeah.
And most leaders are the ones that, you know what, they take it upon themselves to, you know what, I'm going to step out there. If I fail, I fail. But really, you never fail at anything. You learn along the way. What I tried didn't work. I didn't fail. My way or method of doing something initially didn't work. So you learn from that. And like I say, most leaders, they just, hey, you know, some would say they're outgoing, or, you know, or they have no fear. You know, they don't mind testing themselves. They don't mind challenging themselves. Now, rank is just, hey, I can give you this, and this is what you are. Now, what you do within that rank, that's on you. But if you're a leader, you're going to be bigger than your rank because you just don't want that. You want more than just what's on your chest or whatever it may be. So that's how I look at rank and leadership from my perspective.
So a good example I can throw out there for you guys, and I don't, you might remember, you probably won't. So when I first went in the Army in '83,
Well, I was 2.
yeah, well, here's what
I
they
wasn't even born.
had back then. So right now in the Army's rank structure, you got E4 is called a specialist, and then the next grade up is E5. That's sergeant.
Okay.
So when I first came in the Army, you didn't automatically become a sergeant. They had specialist rank, Spec 4, Spec 5, all the way up to Spec 7, and a few Spec 8s. And the difference between a Spec 5 and a Sergeant E5 was those Spec 5s were people that were, the specialist ranks were not considered leadership positions. And the hard stripes were considered the leadership position. In a tank battalion and a tank company, most of all the combat MOSs would have been the engineers too. When you made E5, you didn't automatically become a sergeant. You was going to become a Spec 5 unless you were in certain duty positions that required responsibility and leadership. If you worked in the mess hall, if you worked in the hospital, you know, you was an X-ray tech, all those folks that worked in dental clinics, hospitals, all that kind of stuff, that's where you saw Spec 5, Spec 6, Spec 7s. Now, the mess sergeant was always an E7. Well, Cook Daddy, he was the E7, and everybody else was specialists.
Yeah.
So, you know, you knew, don't mess with him. You know what I'm saying? And so the Army knew, even back then, that there was a difference between having rank and being a leader. The rank does not make the leader. The leader makes the rank.
Yeah,
Well said.
I kind of want to just touch on my personal experience. I don't want to call him by name, but my first sergeant at my unit, absolutely stand-up guy, right? Yeah, he's a first sergeant. He outranks, you know, most of the people in the platoon. Obviously, not everybody in the whole unit. But he's the kind of guy, everybody knows this, the National Guard, right? It's part-time, 1 week in a month, 2 weeks during the summertime. So you're going to see that person 2 to 3 days in the month, right? But this guy, my first sergeant, is one of the people who will literally check up on you every month. And when I mean check up on you, I mean he'll copy and paste. He'll probably change a couple of words out of the text message, but hey, how's everything going over the month? You doing all right?
Yeah.
Change the name, change, you know, a couple of words in the sentence. But every single person in my platoon was getting a text message from first sergeant every month. maybe a week or two after drill, maybe a week or two before drill, he'll check in on us. I feel like that right there goes a long way when it comes to leadership. Checking in on the people under you. That right there, it makes the person feels like you thinking about them or you care about them, but it also gives them. A lot of people say I got an open door policy, in the military, but as soon as you try to go open that door, you realize it's locked. You know what I mean? But with this first sergeant, you know that open door policy stood strong because he wouldn't just be like, "Hey, how's it going?" He'd be like, "Hey, how's the family?" Or, "Hey, remember you told me you were doing this? How's that going for you over the break?" That right there stood out for me a lot in my time frame in the National Guard, and it makes me want to be better than him when it comes to my leadership roles. So I just wanted to sprinkle that on there for y'all a little bit.
Nice. So mental health is big now. A lot more people are talking about it. I think, the whole pride thing, us as men, we didn't really talk about it back in the day coming up. You be seen as a punk. Homeboys clown you, Joan on you, fry you, whatever.
I haven't heard Joan in a long time.
Yeah, you from up north, so.
I heard that. I got a couple people from, down by the boot, as they say. And I'm like, what is that? You ain't never heard that. I'm like, okay.
Why do you feel like people in the military struggle silently when it comes to mental health? Or did? Because I'm sure people still do now, but,
I know what my answer is, but I want to hear theirs because I bet it's going to be very similar to mine.
Okay.
Okay.
I would think a lot of people, first of all, it's an image. Everybody can't be the top of the top. Like the military, we're the 1% of the 1%. So if I'm already this 1%, I can't seem weak to the next person or those I'm trying to protect as a whole. And that eats at a lot of people. As you just said, we as men, mental health is something big. A lot of stuff comes out, a lot of people will throw out, well, you may have had mommy issues or you may have had daddy issues or whatever it may be. And when you come from, say, a strong group of men, as a man growing up, most men back then, they didn't show emotion.
Right.
So you're not in tune with your emotions, for one, because I fall down, what you crying for? Scrape it off, keep going. Suck it up. That's what you get sometimes. And we don't think about it, but if your program are wired that way all throughout your childhood, your adolescence into your adulthood, you kind of lose that emotion to be sensitive or caring. And so when it comes to certain issues and stuff, all you know what to do is, as most men, we hold it in, we keep it to ourselves, we figure it out. For one, wow, we're supposed to be the head. If I'm supposed to be leading or showing and you see a fault in me, and it's not a fault, but we think that sometimes, like, I can't be like this because now everything under me may fall or it may crumble. I'm weakening it, I'm letting it down. And I think that plays a lot into why men or people in the military themselves, we hold a lot of stuff in. Now, I will say we do have those people, as you say, your homeboys, homegirls that Jones on. You got one or two you gonna tell. Like, I can tell you this and it stays here.
Yeah.
Now, I will say when it comes to if it's a serious issue or something like that, they need to speak out on your behalf. Because a lot of time we speak directly but indirectly. Like, we're asking for help, but we're not asking for help. So that's why we may talk to those one or two individuals and hope that they reach out on our behalf. And some people, it's just pride and ego. And I think that's what it all boils down to at the end of the day. At some degree, we're probably all at fault with it to something. But I think that just that image and masking of, if I'm the 1% of the 1% strong, I can't show this certain side of me. And that's not healthy. And that's, where a lot of the mental issues and things come into play, I believe.
I feel like I can be wrong in this situation, but I feel like that's more of y'all's generation. Not to call out your age or anything like that.
I see what you're saying.
But when you grow up, because my mom, my dad was the same way. Dust it off, get up, shake it off. Deal with it, right? But I feel like as I got older, and I'm 34, so I'm not too much younger than y'all. But I feel like in my generation, a lot of the male mental health has been vocalize a lot more. I feel like in this generation now, a lot of them are coming out and saying, "Hey, I am hurt," or "Hey, I am dealing with something, and I need help to get it fixed." And I feel like the more and more we normalize it, and the more and more we make it known, the better outcome that we have. And just like you were saying, you know, back in the day, our parents were stuck on a certain mindset. You know, hey, man has to do this, man has to do that, man has to be the strong power of the house. But we still have those same roles. But I feel like now it's the situation or the issues that we're having mentally is more vocalized in my generation.
Yeah, I can see that.
And maybe I could be, maybe it's just me, because I raised 2 little girls, and maybe I'm just a little bit more sensitive. But I speak on my emotions, and this guy, he works with me, so he knows I'm the first person to be like, yo, I don't like that, or I'll speak on how I feel about something.
Yeah,
got to. Man.
But at the same time, I feel like me being open about my emotions doesn't make me weak. And I feel like once as men we get past that,
stereotype.
being open about your emotions, it doesn't make you a weak man. I feel like that's when we'll start, going in the right direction.
So I've seen it all. I have seen it all. I've seen things and been involved in situations that was heartbreaking, both with military members and their families. Mental health is not, people used to laugh at it, not take it serious. And guess what? It's not a big deal until it is a big deal, and it affects you personally. Then it becomes a big deal. And, it's tough. And I agree with what they said. From the time you go into the military, you hear things like warrior's ethos, fight to win, first to fight, the warrior mentality. And that means stuff to people, especially young men and women. And it does make it hard, especially if you're further along in your career, a military career. And, if you pass 10 years, man, you over the hump. You're trying to get to the end at that point. You've committed. Yeah. And so you're going to pretty much try to put up with whatever is put in front of you. And it gets hard, man. And I have seen, even before I got out, that it was starting to change. People were starting to pay attention to it more. But, people wouldn't say nothing because of a career. And back in the day, man, when I first went in, those late 70s, early 80s military families, it wasn't like mom and dad and a boy and a girl. It was mom and dad and 6 kids.
Living on dad's income.
They couldn't afford not to be in the military at that time. So people kept things quiet and just suffered and dealt with it until bad things happened.
So I have some facts I want to share.
Okay.
Now, the VA reported approximately 6,398 veteran suicides in 2023. About 17.5 veteran suicides per day. 61% of those veterans who died by suicide in 2023 were not receiving the VA health benefits, the health care in that year prior to that death. There's been talks about an alternative treatment. I wanted to bring this up. It's for veterans that deal with PTSD, traumatic, brain injuries, addiction, so forth and so on, right? And what it's called is Ibogaine. So I want to give some facts about that. And before we get to this part, though, I got to say this isn't medical advice. We're discussing research, public testimony, veteran experiences, and broader conversations around mental health and alternative therapies. I want to make sure we put that disclaimer out there.
Right.
All right, so Ibogaine is a naturally occurring psychoactive compound found in the root bark of Tabernath iboga. The iboga plant originates in Gabon, Cameroon, and Congo Basin regions of Central Africa. Iboga has been used for centuries in Bwiti spiritual practices, initiation ceremonies, healing rituals, and spiritual guidance traditions. And how it affects the brain, researchers believe that it interacts with serotonin systems, dopamine systems, opioid receptors, and glutamate That's NMDA pathways, which is N-methyl deaspartate receptor. Now, the possible stated effects include interruption of addictive patterns, reduced cravings, emotional processing, trauma confrontation, neuroplasticity, and mood stabilization. Now, have y'all heard anything about this at all before today?
Is it like the bark or the microdosing on the mushrooms?
Well, the mushrooms are something separate. This is from the iboga tree. It's something
like
different.
A bark extract.
Yeah, I believe.
No, I haven't never heard it.
So honestly, I have, and you know, full disclosure, I've been around people that have tried it for the reasons you spoke of, and including a close family member that was struggling with pretty good results. I mean, he says that it has helped him tremendously.
That's what I'm saying, bro. Keep going. Thank you.
Yeah.
All right. So it's going down in Texas, man. They got like an initiative going down there, so I'm going to give some information on that. We're in South Carolina. Okay. But just Texas doing this.
Right.
It is has become one of the biggest centers for ibogaine research discussion in the United States. Texas approved approximately $50 million in state funding for ibogaine clinical research initiatives. Now, a few important people to mention. You got Rick Perry. He's the former governor of Texas and public advocate for ibogaine research. Mm-hmm. You have Brian Hubbard. He's the executive director connected to Americans for Ibogaine. Marcus Luttrell, I'm sure that name rings a bell, right?
Yeah.
He's a retired Navy SEAL survivor of Operation Red Wings and also the author of Lone Survivor. And he publicly discussed PTSD, trauma, and psychedelic-assisted therapies. He was on Joe Rogan's Experience, that podcast, talking about that. Now, when stories like that start to become public, especially from people with that kind of military background, that credibility, right?
Yeah.
What does that do for the conversation surrounding mental health?
I would say it more than likely it shifts the narrative of having a negative effect. If someone, pretty much as you said, with those credentials or high standards is supporting something like that, automatically, majority of people, they're going to grasp to it because they're going to look at him as high profile. Or if he's doing this, it must be something right. It must be something good. You know, you really don't know the effects of it because you don't know how, you know, mentally, physically, psychologically it's going to affect you as a person. You know, he can only speak on it for himself, but if he have research or numbers stating certain things, well, you know, that may be a difference with it. You know, he's the face of it, and I got these numbers, you know, to back me up that, hey, I said this is a good idea. These are the numbers that's shown proven for that. But at the end of the day, how many of those numbers do we know that really it didn't help? So, you know, you kind of have to be skeptical with that stuff.
Yeah.
You know, and that's what I'll say about that.
And I agree with you, man. But it hit harder at home for me because my man right here, he knows somebody that it tremendously helped, man. And that's big, and people need to know that and hear that. Like, everything ain't for everybody.
Right.
And they're still doing research and studies.
Mm-hmm.
But fortunately, there's an executive order signed on April 18th of this year.
Okay.
You know, did y'all know Trump signed that it's accelerating medical treatments for serious mental illness that increased the federal momentum towards psychedelic assistance therapy research, PTSD treatment, veteran mental health, and traumatic brain injury study. Now, I'm going to say this real quick. We have to have these conversations in South Carolina. You know, this is the Bible Belt.
Yeah.
Alcohol is widely accepted. You know what I mean? And but any other type of conversation becomes very, very controversial immediately. You know what I'm saying? But if we really truly talking about helping veterans, helping people struggling with trauma, PTSD, and, you know, the addiction issues, depression, suicide, that's really the major one, man. These conversations deserve a space, bro. And respectfully to the people who influence mental health policy, healthcare policy, and research conversations here in South Carolina, the invitation is open to come on the Dap in the Hub podcast and sit down and have a serious conversation about helping people. I mean, like, so people have been going to Mexico to get these treatments. So why do you think people are traveling outside the United States?
So
What does that say about our country?
Marcus Luttrell.
Get that mic up to you, brother.
On Marcus Luttrell, you know, I follow him. I follow Joe Rogan, of course. You know, he's been taking other veterans down to Mexico, high-profile veterans. The cat from Kentucky that won the Medal of Honor was struggling really bad for a while. Marcus Luttrell took him to Mexico. He underwent the treatment. I don't know how long he was there, but that guy came back and he is sufficiently well mentally now. He rejoined the Marines. Did y'all know that?
No.
You know who I'm talking about? The guy from Kentucky, Dakota Meyer is his name. So he won a Medal of Honor, I believe, in Iraq, and come home, got out, and was suffering severe PTSD. Couldn't function, was getting in trouble at home. The normal stuff.
Right.
And then I don't know if he heard about Marcus or Marcus reached out to him, but he's like, hey, dude, I've been going down here to Mexico to get these treatments, and it's really helping me, and I'd like to take you down there and at least try. It's been 180 degrees since then. So something's going on.
Yeah.
Something's going on. My concern with it is acceptance, because it's something new and people don't understand it.
Right.
It's something new over here.
Yeah, and then, the government, I'll just leave the government, is going to have to figure out a way where they can control it, regulate it, and make
That's
money
it.
off of
That's
it.
it.
Or they're not going to ever approve it. I'm telling
Exactly.
you,
That's
that's
it.
the world we live in.
And I know you got to get out of here. I don't want to end the podcast. I want to keep going, y'all, but I know you got to go. Can you go ahead and look into the camera, and anybody that's struggling mental health, don't have like really direction or purpose in life, like what would you say to them?
I would say reach out.
Can you put the camera?
Reach
the
out.
microphone.
Reach out. There's people you know. If you're a veteran, reach out to your brothers. Find us. We're here. We'll talk to you. I'll help you. I'm easy to find around Rock Hill. I'm at the gym 3-4 days a week.
Oh, he
LA
in there.
Fitness. I'm with this guy. Just reach out to me, especially if you're having issues with the VA and you can't get the service you need. Call me. Get in touch with me. I'll come up there and advocate for you. And I know what to say and who to say it to.
Yes, sir. Hey, we're just not getting started, brother.
Okay. Yeah.
I'll be seeing you again shortly. We're going to talk, man.
All right.
You got to go?
Gotta go.
All right, good luck with the house, man. Thank you so much.
All right.
Yeah, I got to stand up.
Oh, yeah.
Thanks again for your service. Oh, yeah.
Thank you. All right, man. See, that's what I'm saying. It's about testimony, man. You can't deny that.